What's up guys, Signarly here, and today I'm going to show you how you can zenithally highlight a model using just a paintbrush. You don't need an airbrush, and you don't need a spray paint can, unless of course you want to go the primer route, but you can do all those steps with a paintbrush, so stay tuned for more. Thanks. Alright, so we'll get this guy on the base. And this is the second avatar I've got primed up. I would assume he is the leader because he's given this creepy little go this way point. So I'm just gonna do my dry brushing method on this guy and show you how we can zenithally highlight a model inside with a brush instead of with an airbrush or outside with a spray can. So first I'm going to start off. What I did was I primed this with a primer, an actual primer. Primers will etch themselves into the plastic and bond with the plastic, so you get a really nice smooth surface. I use Mr. Hobby, Mr. Surfacer. You can get it at craft stores like Michael's and such, and I think it works a little bit better than like a Army Painter or Army Painter works good, but make sure it says primer because that's the optimum word. If you just use spray paint, you have the potential of it flaking off, and you don't want that for your first coat. So make sure it's a primer. My primer is gray, so what I do is I prime it all in this light gray primer. It soaks in, it bonds with the plastic and performs a nice smooth surface and protective barrier. Then I go back over it with a Vallejo hobby spray, the black hobby spray, and that's like the base coat. So now we're gonna start off with dark warm gray from Pro Acryl, and we're gonna go a little heavy with this. Not crazy heavy, but a little heavier than you would a normal dry brush. All right, so here we go. Let's tilt him up a little bit. Get him back this way. So I'm just coming down from the top. Let me hold on to the puck so he doesn't go anywhere. Just down, starting at the top and working my way down. And it's okay if you have a little bit more paint on your brush for this step. It doesn't need to be super cleaned off, although these makeup brushes will hold a lot of paint, so still go ahead and remove the excess paint. Still do that step. His sight's a little wobbly, just give it a little support there. It's just the model. Wobbly scythe. All right, so come on down the model this way. A little bit on the belly. So this is just like another part of the undertone, and this is going to help separate it from the base as well too. And just try to remember to always apply the paint top to bottom. And it's okay if you go back over areas, just always do a vertical brush stroke, starting from the top of volume and working down. It's going to give you the same light simulation everywhere. Move over to the back of the model now. He's a little wobbly. I just want to hold on to him because this dry brushing does put a little bit of pressure on the model because you are pressing into it a little harder than you would when you're applying a normal painting normally. So just give him a little support so I don't crack him off this base, because I think, no, these are plastic. Never mind, these aren't resin. The Celestial Genesis models, they are resin. At least some of them. I think they moved to plastic recently. Could be wrong about that. Excuse me. All right, roll this this guy down a little bit this way so we can see what I'm doing. I'm just kind of doing a little dirty up in the under parts here where it's not really super visible. It's not a big deal. I'm going to go over it again with some lighter grays anyway. Just getting this nice darker gray base coat down to work up to a lighter grayish white to apply our transparents to. And you just want to go all around the model, getting every little area that you think would have some light reflecting off of it. Excuse me, a little sip of my drink. Sorry about that. Hand's a little wet. I'm just gonna hold on to this halberd so it doesn't snap off. Very flimsy, but that's okay. It looks cool. All right. That's looking pretty good. We'll make sure to pay some extra attention to the blade of the halberd while we're dry brushing, because that's going to help us with our non-metallic metal like we were doing yesterday. And now I'm going to add in the next color, which is a little bit, it's like a creamy, well, it's ivory, like an off-white, also from Pro Acryl, just ivory. Actually, you know what? I might go with olive flesh, because we are using, this is olive flesh from Pro Acryl. It's a darker ivory color. I'm going to mix it in with the gray to give us a little mid-tone, or a tone up from the dark gray we just applied. And get the little excess off because we can use every little last drop. And so first I'm going to go into the gray a little bit, and then into the ivory, and then to the paper towel where they will be mixed together. And one of these days I'll get my palette cam going, but it just seems to kill the OBS. I don't know why. Just OBS doesn't like me having more than 2 cameras. All right, so now same approach. A little bit lighter this time. Still getting in there. Still not really worrying about just the raised edges, but I'm not jamming the brush in or anything. I'm still just building up the tones. And you can kind of start to see the volumes take shape as I'm getting into it. And let me hold on to let's get the rest of the armor first. Do all the parts that aren't super flimsy. Because this is real rough. You don't have to get super, detailed. You're doing the whole model in this fashion. It's like you were using a spray can essentially, or an airbrush. Sometimes you just gotta hold on if it's like hitting it at a point where it's wobbling around. Just go ahead and grab the base. We're gonna paint over the base anyway. It's not a big deal. So get center back on there. Get a little bit more of our mid gray. Come up here to the back of the shoulders. And you can start to see those little ornamental pieces of his armor start to take shape. When I gotta hold on to you, you're wiggling around like a little fish. Sorry, not on frame there. In frame, get a little bit more paint on the brush. I'm going real sparing with the amount of paint I put on these makeup brushes, by the way, because they will soak up a lot really quick, like more than you think. Like you could be sitting here drying them off on the paper towel or whatever, and they'll still have a ton of paint on them. So you really gotta pay attention to how much you're cleaning it off, because if you don't take off enough, you'll just smear it all over the model and you will not be happy. Trust me, I know from experience. So continuing to go all around. Let me get pay a little bit more attention to the halberd here. Whoop, right there. You want to focus on that halberd there, buddy? Yeah. Oh, yeah, maybe if I get my hand behind it. Yeah, there we go. All right, so this is especially flimsy. So I'm just pulling down from the top and letting all the volumes that are there just grab, grab the paint. So I'll do the other side now. So it's got to be real careful. All right, so there's a nice little gradient, and let me get the handle and such. That shouldn't be too flimsy since it's closer to the connection of the hand. All right, so there is step 2. Step 3, gonna keep adding lighter colors. So our first, oh, that was ivory. So we started out with the dark warm gray, mixed in a little olive flesh. Now I'm gonna mix in some bright warm gray. This is also from Pro Acryl. Just another tone up to give us some lighter gradient. And now we're gonna start going lighter. And when I say lighter, I mean in touch as well, in application to the model. All right, and same thing, but now we're gonna go touch lighter. So I'm just very lightly pulling it down from the top and just letting the bristles drag gently across, so only the raised bits are catching the paint. And if you got to angle the brush to catch the details in a certain way, that's fine. Just always try to go top to bottom. And sometimes, you'll put a little bit of paint on with the dry brush and then it'll dry and it'll look a little dull. So just go back over it. Keep on applying it. In layers, until you're happy with it. And I'm kind of keeping the under parts of his arms dark, just to play into more of the shadows. Whoop. And just very lightly catching all those really raised bits. Back of the hair. Might have to hold on to the model a little bit here. He's a flimsy boy. Get the back of the halberd. And I think I've gotten... Let's get the back of this leg a little bit more. All right, so now get a little bit more paint on the brush and go for the halberd. So this, the fact that this model is holding the halberd straight up and down, I'm gonna go ahead and give him similar highlights on both sides, just to give it that more like, not the power sword look, but just to, that it's getting light from both sides, but obviously it's not hitting it exactly the same on both sides. So I do have to kind of hold on to it a little bit because it's just, see, it's a flimsy boy. So that's looking good, and now we'll move on into the next step up, which is, all right, so we use bright warm gray. Now I'm going to move into bright neutral gray. So this is a nice neutral gray, but like a light neutral gray. So all in all, I've used 6 colors, technically. Black as the base, dark gray, dark ivory or olive flesh, bright warm gray, bright neutral gray, and then I'll use white at the very end. And that is just to make sure that those highlights really pop through all of the transparent colors that you're going to put on the model. Here. All right, so that's looking good. So that's our last gray step before we get into the white. And this is going to be on just the raised bits. Going to selectively put it around. I'm not going to put it everywhere, and that's just really to emphasize the natural highlights. All right, just shaking up the white here. I'm going to go ahead and add that in now. Bada bing, bada bing. Close that up. All right. All right, and same thing I'm doing with every color. I'm going into the first gray that we used and mixing in the next color up. So it's never a stark difference in the color we're applying, which really helps the blend. That looks like a lot of paint on that brush. Yep. All right, so starting up at the top. See how bright that looks? It's nice. It's really bringing out the details, especially around the face and the headdress there. We'll get it on this little filigree bit on the armor. Keep grabbing the base and not the puck. All right, so let's go all around the top here. Just do a real top to bottom approach. Sorry, just trying to get him in a good angle for everyone to see. And make sure I don't knock him off the base while I'm painting it, because he's a flimsy model. So flimsy. Drag it down his legs, drag it down the front here. But really just scraping along the raised bits. Not trying to get too far in. I just want the sharpest, most prominent details. Alright, so we got some highlights on the back. Fill out some of that volume. That looks cool. So see just how much more definition we have. Just don't focus on my hand, focus on the model. There you go. How much more definition we've got. That actually looks like a skull face. That's pretty cool. All right, and now let me get a little bit more on this leg and a little bit more paint on the brush. I need to mix more of the gray in with the white. There we go. And I'm gonna go for the halberd just because he's the hardest piece. Let me get the back here a little bit. So just lightly dragging it down from the top, because that's where the majority of the light would hit it, and letting the bottom stay dark. You see that? And we've got the whole the line of the ridge in the center. I'm gonna go ahead and do the same thing over here on this side. So you turn them around and you find some fun angles that either the paint dried like I mentioned earlier, or I just didn't hit it as much as I thought I did. Come down the back of this a little bit more, and back here on the under part of this little handle tie, whatever that is. And he's looking good. Now I think we can move into some pure white on just the very, very raised bits. So I'm gonna just go right. I'm not cleaning the brush, obviously, in between each of these colors, because I want the previous color to blend in with the color we're adding. So I'm just adding a little bit more white paint to get a little bit more white into the mix. And I think my cat's up here lurking in the shadows. All right. So tilt him up a little bit. just very, very lightly come down and get those super sharp raised edges. On the edge of his halberd here, this front edge, I'm going to get that whole thing. And this on the halberd, come down on his leg a little bit. Not too much, just like the thigh and a little bit down the knee. A little bit less on that one because it's kind of under him. But the shoulders need a good amount. And like just down the middle of that, his like vertebrae pieces that are coming out here, and just on the edges of the shoulders, just on these little weird mouthy eye bits. Really just keeping to the highest peaks. Those back there, how's that looking? Let's get that. Let's get the halberd a little bit on the sides with the white, mostly up towards the top, and then a little bit right there. That looks good. And then we'll do a little bit more on the other side, but at a different angle. So we'll start, just make sure there's not too much paint on the brush. So I'm going to start from the bottom. Just get that edge. And then go a little ways up, not the whole way up. Just so that there's a varying gradient from one side to the other. So from there, you've got a really nice zenithally highlighted model. And you can go through and add inks to, transparent paints, glazes, all kinds of stuff. So yeah, there's that. I think a lot of people could probably benefit from that. It's really easy to accomplish, and from there you have a perfectly zenithally highlighted model to work with. As always, guys, if you like the content you see here, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and maybe even hit that notification bell so you're notified when new videos drop. Thanks a lot. I appreciate it.